All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you coming. Today we have a very special guest, the founder of a company that has been the talk of the town, making amazing skates, has a great team. Adam Barr, could you please put down your Clark Sucks sign? Thank you. People in the back can't see. Anyway, let's welcome Clark Kirkman. Thank you for being here, Clark. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
I am happy to be here.
Well, that's encouraging. We appreciate having you on here. Well, let's jump right into it, Clark. How'd you start skating?
Oh, so I started skating a very, very long time ago. 91 is when I started aggressive skating. Wow. Before that, I played hockey. So I was playing, roller hockey in my local area, my neighborhood. And one thing led to another, and I started trying to jump the steps out front of the school that we played hockey at. So, and then it just kind of grew from there. It was interesting because, starting in 91, it was like kind of before it was the thing. It was kind of like we were still figuring out what we were doing. So it didn't really have any rules or any framework to work with. So
what was it like? What was the skates that you were wearing? What was like the people that you were looking at?
So we were literally playing hockey. We'd play hockey games. Most of the time it wouldn't be for the skill of the sport. It was more of just to skate across the course and run into each other. But we'd play hockey in the middle of it. Then after we were done hockey with all of our equipment, we still had our skates on. So we would literally go out front to a 5-stair and just jump off of it until our parents would pick us up. So it legitimately was, I just had like Kmart, like rollerblades. I think they were Phantoms. I don't know if you've seen them before. They're called Phantoms. They were black with purple frames. And when I started aggressive skating them, I had to cut the brake off because it kept getting in the way. I went through a pair of skates in like a month, so I had to keep buying them. So it was like, they were only like $30. Like they were like bottom of the barrel skates. But yeah, so we were just figuring it out. It was more of, I think in the 80s, there was the whole skateboard movement. So we had the idea of aggressive. Yeah, those. So you had to cut that brake real quick. But yeah, it was like, after the 80s, it was like skateboarding and aggressive sports were still growing. So you had that mentality as a kid of trying to do anything you can aggressive on everything that you would try to skate. Like whether it was rollerblades or a skateboard or those old school scooters that had like the inflatable wheels and like it was a death trap, like bikes, like we did everything. So it was a natural evolution of like, okay, now I have skates. Let me try to do all that stuff on skates. So
wow,
jumping 4 and 5 stairs was like the go-to move back then. And it was more of just skating around town kind of stuff. I mean, that's how street skating evolved in the beginning anyways. It was more of like an urban skating thing, and then you started doing tricks, and it was inevitable.
So when from there, where do you transition into like grinds and stuff? Like what was your first grind trick?
Very long time. Grinds didn't really, in the beginning it was like there was front sides, and you just skate. You'd skate fast at things and try to front side them. that was literally it. So I think like the first year or so is right around when like Dare to Air came out, and I think my parents had gotten me like a Team Paradise catalog at some point, and that's for one Christmas I ordered Dare to Air as like it was Dare to Air and Mad Beef. I got the videos of it that kind of exposed me to like, oh, there's more than just the little kids stuff of like just going at a curb 100 miles an hour and just taking it. So so that beginning part was a lot of that. You know, that thing you do in your youth where you're just trying to figure it out, trying to do tricks, but not knowing what the individual tricks are, just tricks in general. So all the like grab stuff, you know, jumping off curbs and like doing daffies where you're like, you know all the things.
Daffies. Wow.
It was all that nonsense that you do as a kid, and you're just having a blast. That's how it started for me. And then I would say once Mad Beef and Dare to Air came out, there was more, you know, you started like, okay, I'm going to try to do flips. I'm going to try to do Misties. I'm going to do any number of like bad choices. And like, you know, in the 80s, I used to build ramps for my skateboard and BMX stuff. So we had ramps at the house that we were just trying stuff off of. So we were doing like 180s and 360s off of it. Then we started trying front flips and like Misty flips and all that kind of stuff. And then once we did everything forward, we thought, okay, let's try them from backwards. So we went down the bad path of doing like fakey Misties and like fakey front flips. Then, you know, looking back was a terrible decision. But as kids, it was like, all right, let's do it. Let's go. Let's just try all the stuff fakey that we did backwards, you know? So then we tried to grind more. Like we had a curb, I think like all of us had outside of our house that we waxed up really well and could skate it. And we were doing front sides and like soul grinds and that kind of stuff. Then Mizus were around, so we started messing with those. And then they did porn stars, and for some reason my little kid brain couldn't even think to twist my foot the other way, so that really blew my mind when those came out. So anytime we would see stuff, we would just try to imitate and replicate it on the things that we had access to. So it's a wonderful thing to be a kid and like have no responsibilities and just be like, I'm gonna go skate, you know. Like that's all we're gonna do. I mean, when I first started as a kid, you'd play all the other sports and you have all the other things that you do. As soon as I started skating, pretty much everything else stopped. Like I just didn't have the interest in it anymore to do anything other than rollerblade. And I started with, there was a group of maybe like 4 or 5 guys in my neighborhood that skated with me during that time. We none of us had any idea what we were doing. We were just kind of making it up as we went. But, you know, every day after school, every weekend day, that's what we were doing. So.
What was your first grind on a rail?
See, that's a hard, I was thinking about it earlier today. I have 2 answers. So the first answer is the first trick that I tried was a front side on a 8-flat-8 kink rail.
What?
It was the worst decision, but there was a school maybe a mile from my house, and it was the closest rail to my house. So we would skate there, and try to skate this rail all day, just taking it into the grass, falling really hard, because that's what we thought we did. It was the only rail we had. So yeah, I don't think I ever did that rail. Like I think I got down flat and a little bit of the second down and then fell off into the grass. The second answer is soul grind on like a 5-stair. I found another rail that was farther into town, tried that one worked out perfectly. That was great. But yeah, we made bad choices as kids. It was like
crazy.
We just didn't know. Like, you know, you see stuff in like the air, people skating rails, and you're like, just all rails are the same. You just go and do it. It was not that way, you know. So a lot of trial and error.
Wow. Yeah. I bet it was very far. Like you were so in the moment by what it sounds like, you know? Obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. It was absolutely just like my kid brain saying, yeah, people are doing rails. I'm going to do a rail. And not knowing the intricacies of like that kink rail is bigger than you should be doing. I look back at that rail and it's not even a good kink rail. Like it was real sharp kinks, and like the kink was like maybe 2 feet long, and it was just not. I wouldn't do it today.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have done it in my prime, but that's what we had. That's what
That's
we did.
great.
That's crazy.
And it's funny, we didn't know any better. It just, it's like, all right. And I would literally spend, I think the like 4 or 5 days that I skated it, I spent like all of Saturday, all of it, just skating the stupid rail. But yeah, it made for some good memories.
Oh yeah.
I bet some good pain. Would you I bet there's a mark that you have in your body that you're like, yep, I remember.
That
It
rail.
was ridiculous. I look back and I'm just like, what's funny is now that I'm older and I see other kids starting to skate and like making choices, it's like, that's not good. You shouldn't do that. They look at me like I'm crazy, and I'm like, man, I've been there.
Trust
I've
me.
skated those rails. It's not worth it. But
So you basically drop everything else. You just
Yeah.
focus on skating.
yeah,
And when you thought about it, like, you know, because when we were kids, like they always ask us, what do you do when you're in the future? You're gonna be a doctor or whatever. Did you see yourself doing what you're doing now?
no, come on, man. I think that when you're a kid and rollerblade, actually not even just rollerblading, I think a kid in general, it's kind of it kind of burns you out with adults trying to like ask you what you're gonna do, and you figure out what you're gonna, because that's such a organic process of trying to figure out what your passions are in life and what you want to do and what you want to be, and it's not something you can force. You can't just decide one day, this is what I want to do, and that's what happens always. Some people, it does happen. Some people, they've known since they were a kid that they wanted to be a doctor, and they did what it takes to get there. Not everyone, and I would say a majority of people aren't like that. Usually people fall into something that they just seem to be okay doing, and they just continue doing that indefinitely. I think a lot of us are lucky that we find, let me say lucky and unlucky, to find this passion of rollerblading super early, because you get years of entertainment and fun and friends you meet, but you also hit a peak of what life could be fairly early. And then after you're done your prime of rollerblading, trying to figure out what that life looks like moving forward is really difficult. It's so hard to find something that has the equal amount of passion for, as well as the reward and intrinsic value that you got from rollerblading in another discipline. So whether that be your profession or, you know, for me, I went to school and I went to design school and became creative director and all that kind of stuff. And no matter what work I did in that agency creative design field, none of it was ever close to the value or reward that I got from rollerblading and the friendships I made in rollerblading and all that. I think that if I hadn't found rollerblading, design and creativity would have been awesome. It would have been the pinnacle. But because I found rollerblading, everything else seems duller, if that makes sense.
Get it completely. Yep, totally
Completely.
get that.
I mean, honestly, Clark, I've never heard anybody put it in such words, but it's so true, man. And I feel like that fits into the nostalgia piece of our community and so on, you know, why so many people are invested to do like tiny little things or big things with the community, no matter what, because that gives them that feeling of like being in that.
Absolutely. It's a struggle. You see people all the time from professionals from back in the day that get to their prime and then work really hard to stay relevant and like don't know what to do next, and they look for these other outlets for whether that be videography or design or photography or whatever they go into. Some people go into physical therapy, like doing shows or what. They look for that same kind of high that they got from rollerblading, and it's really difficult to find. Lightning
100%.
tends to not strike twice. So
it's
like it's a plus and a minus. But
yeah. Yeah. Plus,
So
let's be real, like
I couldn't have anticipated what I'm doing now and what I've been able to do and the community that I've built like around the compound as well as faction and like what we have going on. I'm thankful both to my community as well as to the larger industry as a whole for letting me be a part of it for so many years and like welcoming me into that community. I can say it's not always been great, but it's ebbs and flows like life is. So, you know.
yeah. We're lucky to have you too, man. Like you're doing a lot. You're influencing a lot of people. You actually like bringing light to a lot of things that most folks don't really pay attention to.
Thank
Which
you.
is yeah, for sure. I wanted to ask you just to set a base of the next part of the conversation, talking about this that we're talking about now. Um, when you talk about blading with
Yeah.
other people, what do you like to talk about? Is it about this? Is it about tricks? What moves you to just pour it out?
So, what's funny is that as you get older, you think about things differently than you did as a younger rollerblader. So, I'll start by saying, as a younger rollerblader in my prime, what I like about rollerblading and what I like to talk about is the complexity and the technical aspects of rollerblading. I am a skate nerd. I am a like technical rollerblader of, I have my opinions about trick names. I have opinions about how things have developed and the technical execution of tricks and how they're done and what's the best way to do them and the easiest way to learn things and people's preferences. I'll talk about that stuff endlessly. That will get me into arguments and it will get people to have an opinion that I am particular and sometimes judgmental, some would say. But I like to preface it all with, these are my opinions. This is my experience I'm talking through. Like, this is just the way that I view rollerblading and has some of the assumptions that I make on how I frame it. That framing has gotten me to a certain point in skill level and execution that I'm very proud of to this day. That being said, it's rollerblading. You can do whatever you want. I don't really care. Now, if you're at my ramp, I have more of an opinion because it's a ramp. But but that being said, inevitably, as long as we're all having fun and it's a community, it's it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. I love it. I've experienced both the Clark outside the compound and the Clark at the compound, and it's very true.
Yeah.
I do find it useful either way whenever you give your opinion, because like your geekness about skating comes through, and I personally benefited from it. I can tell you my hurricanes are like way better because of you.
Yeah. It's crazy because like I forget who I was talking to about this, but like everything that I've ever accomplished has been trial and error, pushing through to learn. I wouldn't say that I'm naturally talented at any of it. I would say everything that I've done, I've had to work through, figure out, do repetitively until I could do it every time. So it's given me a lot of time to kind of think about how I learned it, what made it click, and how to move forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
That a lot of people don't think about. Some people think of rollerblading as just like this adrenaline thing where they're trying to do stunts and they're just kind of pushing through and making it happen. I've never kind of approached it that way. It's always been like incremental progression to do better and better with the least amount of risk. And that shows itself when you talk about, like, I was never really a drop rail guy. Like, that wasn't my thing. I could count on one hand the times that I've done drop rails, and like skating launch box. I was never the go super high guy learning stuff. I was the guy that skimmed the deck and then just barely made it into the landing, but technically executed it the way that it should be done. You know, like I don't like to risk things. So if I'm doing a trick, there wasn't a question of if I would land it. It's like how many tries, hopefully first, done, and then I move on. So, you know.
Did you build all this stuff here yourself in this video?
Yeah.
That's so cool. That tracks. Yeah. Man, your lore is like epic. You're like a skating superhero. You've done it all.
So that box, I went to NIS, and they had a similar box, but it was bigger with a drop rail. So I came home and I built my own.
Wow.
Because I went to NIS. I think it was 96 NIS. I think it was in New York City at Woolman Rink. And
97.
They had an 8-foot quarter pipe. They had a 4-foot like transition box with a 4-foot high rail on it. Yeah, see, bad choices.
Oh my God! Who fakey front flips in their front yard?
Yeah.
You're insane.
But Nick had that big rail, and it was something I was deathly scared of. So I was like, okay, I can't just come back next year to do it. I have to have something that I could try it at home first. So I built one. The funny part about that is that all of that came apart in pieces so that I could take it to the backyard, because my parents were like, you can't leave that in the front yard. So I had to basically take it apart into pieces, move it into the side yard, and then move it back out every time I wanted to skate it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So not only were you building your own ramps, it was mad early in your life, like, which I want to ask, like, how did you start building ramps? But you know, but also like you also like had to be technical about it.
I don't know, man. I just put pieces of wood together. Look at it. It's not safe. At no point is it. Look at that thing. I just nailed things together, man. That box on the left was a bookcase. My dad was so mad at me that I turned his bookcase into a box. He left it in the basement. What am I supposed to do?
Amazing.
Yeah, I was young. I want to say I was like maybe 13 or 14. No, 12 or 13 in this.
Wow.
Like, I was young.
Was there any point during these progression times that you did anything to complement your skating? Because when I found about you the first time, I was like, this guy is like, what is he thinking? You know?
That's a common response to me in general. But, you know.
So I was like, is he like obviously like doing something else that he's transferring the knowledge to skating or something? Did you do? Wow.
It's a lot of just alone time skating these stupid boxes and these rails, trying to figure it out so I don't kill myself. Like, who makes a heart attack at the bottom of a rail to skate like that? That doesn't make sense.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's like I look back to, because I built a lot more stuff much stronger than this. I was putting in supports that make no sense. That under support there, that is doing nothing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks kind of arbitrary.
Like, it's not. It's like a weird one. Like, it didn't add anything to it. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Honestly, it's almost suicidal, bro.
Yeah, like, it had no point. It was. I would say I've gotten better at building as the years have gone on. So. It's funny to all this stuff too, because like, I don't topside that way anymore. Like, that's switched topside for me. It was my natural far side soul, but that's not. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't know, man.
That also make you precise, you know.
I think I was riding Rossi's lowriders with like the aluminum frames and like huge ass wheels. Like,
they look huge in this.
Yeah. And I'm trying to learn Royales. They just not working. I don't. It's funny because this stuff is embarrassing, because like half cab front side. Who does half cab front sides? That's all we had. We didn't
Joey
have
Longer.
anything, man. I mean, why else am I doing fakey front flips in the front yard? Yeah, it was great. It was a good time though.
Oh,
What's
God.
your in contrast your setup now? Like your official setup when you go skating. What wheels do you have and all that? And
Oh.
what sizes? Fast forward. Ooh, the beauties.
So it's the Midnight Whites with Kaiser Slim Lines right now.
Oh.
Slim lines, all right.
Yeah.
Yep, nice.
And
Nice.
58s. Right now I'm riding Somatics 58s.
Hey, all right.
Nice.
I like the factory they use. So I wouldn't say this is controversial, but I like a little bit of wheel bite. So not most people don't, but
I'm interested in that
like-
opinion.
so like look, so when you're like this, and then you can turn your foot like that
Mm-hmm.
and use it as a stopper to slow yourself down on things just by like tweaking your foot to the left. So you
Okay.
can like things that slide really fast, like on the mini ramp, my mini ramp specifically, that thing's always trucking.
Yep.
So I can pinch and use the wheel to like stop on things.
Okay.
You know, the way that you need. A lot of frames nowadays, they have a lot of wheel protection, a lot of like, it always just slides.
Mm-hmm.
And I always like textured feedback. I like
Hmm.
to feel things when you're grinding so you know where to be. And like you can judge how far to lean forward or how far you need to lean back based on the roughness or how it feels. It's the same reason that people really like doing skating concrete ledges and doing like royales on them,
Mm-hmm.
because you can lean back on it because it doesn't slide and you feel it grinding instead of just like it being so fast that it's just like gone.
Yeah.
You can feel it and you can gauge where you need to be.
Right.
Kind of like back in the day with when people were riding like fatties and stuff and it was like a rubberized backslide. You could do backslides straight tilted back on it because you knew it wasn't going to slide and you could just lean and put your weight on it. And like it made for great backslides. Forks, on the other hand, were terrible, but it's the trade-off. So
Yeah. You're so right, dude. Like I remember seeing so many people learning backslides with the fatties and just going,
yeah,
You know?
flying forward. And then like end up being like real far.
yeah.
A lot of those like old school New York heads doing them like on Brooklyn Banks rails where they're like John Ortiz was doing them back in the day, like straight up like all the way back, like
Yeah.
nonsense. But it was a good time. It was great back then. So
Yeah.
Wild.
Let me ask you about the contrast then.
mhm.
What is your least favorite thing about blading?
I don't think it's necessarily a least favorite. I think people sometimes take themselves too seriously in this whole thing. That being said, it's some people's livelihood and it is what it is. But people lose sight of like, we do this for fun. Like it's boots with wheels on it. Like it's not that serious. Like, you know, I love the community. I love what we're doing. I love the sport itself, but we all started it because it was fun. And it's, you know, I want people to be able to find the fun in what they do and have a good time doing it. And meeting and building the community around it is super important. So when people lose sight of that or feel like they're too good for that or lack humility about things, that's probably my least favorite part. I would say it doesn't happen as much nowadays. I think the community as a whole, we've kind of weeded out a lot of those people, but we still run into them, some people on a bad day or just, you know, some people just have an outlook that is not ideal.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
what can you do? It is what it
Sometimes
is.
you need the contrast, you know. You need the contrast to appreciate the other side. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just sometimes it's like, I get that a lot of the things that I don't end up liking have nothing to do with rollerblading. It has more to do with people's personality and some of the things they may be going through, that they use blading as this safety zone and it's serious for them. And as soon as they stop making it serious, it feels like they're like, I don't know, not as good as they think they are, or there's some inner insecurity that happens in there that makes people want to be that way. It kind of is what it is, but people forget that it doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's all just rollerblading. Just go out and have fun. There's gonna be people better than you. There's gonna be people worse than you. It doesn't matter. It's all fun, you know?
Exactly.
Just go out and have a good time.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Let's talk about Savannah versus Alib Unity and so on, and not fight. You know, it's okay.
I'll talk.
Just
I'll
kidding,
talk
just
about all that.
Don't do it.
But it's all these damn new school kids. They don't know what a heritage is.
I just know I can't do either one that either people are talking about, so it doesn't matter yet.
Yeah, it's actually worse when you can do it, because I can do both, and I have done both ways. So I feel like I have a little bit of like say in what I call it. So
Call
No,
whatever you want.
it's funny because like I've come to a new perspective on that specific argument. As I've gotten older, I feel bad about the people that say it opposite of what I would say, because they didn't have an OG to kind of teach them correctly, and then they did it wrong for 25 years, and now they can't change. They've committed. There's no correcting it. It just is. So I just try to show understanding. You know, I understand what they're saying. You know, I can still tell them how they're doing it wrong, but it is what it is.
You enjoy coaching, Clark? Like, we dive into it a little bit, but like, since we're on the topic.
I do. There's a conundrum in rollerblading. So there are two different types of people. There's the people that like genuinely want to learn and don't want to fall all the time trying to learn something, and they will take advice with like kind of a grain of salt of like, all right, how can I do this better? How can I make it click? And then there's other people that are out there, they just want to muscle in whatever they're doing, and they want to trial and error it, figure it out on their own. They think they do things differently than everyone else. It's like, you hear people say, well, that's just how I do it. And I'm like, okay, that's you're doing it wrong, but good luck. Have fun with that struggle. Come back when you want like pointers or whatever. Some people don't want pointers, and that's okay. I hand out pointers no matter what, and it damages relationships, but that's okay. That's okay. That's just, it's part of who I am. So yeah, I don't feel like anybody should have to go through that struggle of figuring it out on their own if someone else could help them with insight. You know, not to say that I can do every trick, but I've sat and thought about rollerblading long enough that I pretty much can have an insight on how to do stuff, until you get to like fakie 5, I don't know, negative kind grind, like ridiculous stuff. Because I've either gone through the process to learn it or tried it a bunch before. So
yeah,
okay.
I think it's like part of that ego that you were talking about before that comes with skating, you know, because I think I've also been guilty of that, of saying no, that's just how I learned it, or that's just how I do it. But like, even the example I did before, like just the little things of like having somebody else's perspective and brain, you know, and like, let's be real, I cannot observe my whole body as I'm doing a spin trick, you know.
It's outside perspective. It's outside perspective on what you're doing, and what's the crazy part too, like specifically about, I remember we were talking at Tim's. You were doing 360 soul, like hard spin souls on the hip.
Yeah.
I went through the exact phase that you went through, or that you were doing with 3 souls, of how you were trying to spin, like bring your knees up in the beginning and kind of spin over to it.
Yes.
That's a standard. Like, I went through it and tried years of trying that trick, doing it like that, and it was always hard. It was always a struggle. It was always like, I'm gonna huck this, I hope I make it, like,
yeah,
you never, like, and I felt confident as hell that was how I did it. That was just my style. And then I got rid of that idea, and I was living at Woodward, and I'm like, okay, let me try it differently and see if it helps. And then I started doing it where I drop my feet and pencil spin and then bring my feet up, and it felt just like a regular soul grind. And I could do it on everything, every single time. It was not an issue. So like, there was that dichotomy of like, I full on thought that was just my style of how I did it. And then it ended up not being that at all. It ended up being like, once I did it the different way, I could do it on ramps, I could do it on handrails. It didn't matter if it was a 30 stair, I could safely do it without dying. There was no hucking. It was just, there it was, and then it opens up a whole bunch of stuff from that, I was telling somebody last weekend about the idea of regular and switch, and how it becomes a crutch for you not to learn. If you're just like, oh, I don't do it that way, that's my switch, I can't. You instantly shut out that whole side of the sport, because you're like, that switch, there's no reason I could do it. Instead of just like, let me test it and see if it works.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will work, and it will be easier.
Yes.
And you will be a cluster of contradictions, but you will do the trick both ways. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've said this to most of the people that I know in blading. There's no switch. I don't think there's switch, and I'm sorry if that's like a rash opinion, but it's because of that. It's exactly because of what you just said that I think about it that way.
I mean, it's ridiculous, because like, there's so many tricks that I've done that technically are switch, but it's the only way I can do it. So like full cab true porn is a perfect example for me. I could only do it left foot.
Wow.
That is 100% my switch porn star. Like, it's 100% switch fakie approach. Like, it shouldn't work, but that's the way I do it.
There you go.
There's no way that I could do it right foot, because it's switch spin. It's just not right. But just regular true porn star is right foot, 100% right foot. Like, it's weird.
Crazy.
It's weird.
Yeah.
A lot.
Were you making it work?
A lot of it has to do with the direction you spin. Some people are spin dominant. Some people are foot dominant. It really depends. But like, for me, I can't spin switch very well. That's just is what it is. I've tried to put in the time. It doesn't work. But then other things, when I think about it, so I taught myself to skate launch box for a while, just because I was tired of being terrible at it. In like, I want to say 2001, 2002-ish. 2002, I turned pro, ASA pro. And I decided after that contest, I could not go on the pro tour doing toe tap 540s on launch box as the top trick. Like, there was no respectable way for me to show up to a contest and be like, ooh, I'm gonna tap the box and spin over it. Like, I had to do something. Like, I had to be able to like do a 9, or like do cork 7s or like flat 5s or something on like the big, 16-foot, 6-foot box, like the big guy. So I went back to camp and trained basically in resi and foam to figure out, all of the things. And switch spins didn't happen. I tried so much, and I couldn't do it. But I could switch flat. I could switch flat 5. I could switch. I couldn't do just regular spins, but switch flat spins worked for some odd reason. No idea why. But I would never have known that if I didn't try to do switch.
Right. Right.
But
what a crazy choice of switch trick to do, Clark. Flat spins are like when you fall, dude.
I realize that it makes no sense at all. But it was one of those things that because I wasn't really good at Launchbox, I had to analyze how to do flat spins, and the way that I learned flat spins was really easy to replicate the mechanics of it going switch. Because I didn't have to stagger my feet any differently. I just kind of rode and throw my back to the wall like you do on flats, and it was hard both ways, but it just makes sense either way. But spinning, just doing a 360 switch, I would stop halfway every single time. 100%. Stop and just be looking backwards down the ramp. So it's not even like I didn't try. I tried, and one of the people that lived at camp with me, Casey Norris, could do them regular and switch, no problem. Every night we would skate Launchbox, he would do them regular and switch. I'm like, I don't understand this, and he's like, yeah, you just go, and it still doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no. No.
Yeah. Now fakie though, I could do fakie switch spins. It's weird. It's really weird. That is mainly because my natural fakie makes me spin to my right.
Right.
Like when you're looking over your right shoulder,
right,
going up a launch block, it's natural to go off the ramp that way.
Yeah.
So I could puck a fakie 7 that way just because I was natural on the takeoff. But when I did my natural fakie 7s, it was off a switch fakie, so that was just a shit show from the start. But once I was in the air, it was perfectly fine. But
so you have an overall very methodical approach to things,
yes. Yeah, very much.
And that's also translating to what you're doing right now. What made you pursue having your own company now that we're talking about these choices?
I think inevitably, being in a sport for as long as I've been in it, I wanted to give something back to the community. It's always been, how rollerblading has done so much for me, just me personally, and I feel like I haven't necessarily been able to give it equal amount back to it. And just my personality, I didn't want to do anything half-ass. I didn't want to start with a clothing company or do a wheel company. Those are kind of the entry points that are most people would do. Start low capital, easier startup. I thought if I'm gonna do it, let's kind of just go all in and do a full-on boot, because it kind of coincided with me looking for a skate that I wanted to ride, and I wasn't quite finding what I wanted out there. There were things that were similar or close to what I wanted, but usually had one glaring thing that I didn't necessarily like about it. So I think 2019 is when I kind of just started developing and trying to get stuff going and getting prototypes made. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted from the start, and just had to fine tune it with a factory.
And you started during the pandemic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were developing the prototypes. So with production, nothing's quick. So everything takes time, especially when you have a factory in China where you're sending revisions to them and then they have to send them back. That's like usually a 2-week time period at least just to get things kind of moving. And then they have to ship stuff to you for you to prove and like go through that process. So yeah, it takes forever. We were developing the black V1s for about a year, getting prototypes and, you know, working through all that to get to the point where we're at now. Yeah.
Sounds like you were trying to communicate with the moon, you know?
It's a lot.
Then you have to wait.
It's just a lot of like the time differences is the biggest thing. So like I'd be staying up all hours of the night just to communicate with the factory when they were awake so they can give them the edits that they need and then be there for if they have questions to how they're doing it. Because, you know, factories work in a way that they'll quote you a price for your whatever order you're going to do, and then they try to work within that price anything that comes up. So like if there's edits that need to be made, things they didn't count for, they kind of eat that cost because they've already committed to a price for you. So they're going to try their hardest to like minimize the cost of every component that they're putting into it to try to make more money off of the sale to you.
Wow.
You know, that's not a negative. It's just kind of how factories work.
Yeah.
So you really have to be on top of them to say, no, it needs to be like this, exactly like this. These are the things that need to change. Going back from revision to revision. So we got our first sample from the factory. I think I have it here somewhere. You could see that there was potential, but it wasn't even close to what it should be. Hold on, let me grab it real quick.
Yes, do it. That sounds great. It will be crazy to see the comparison, you know, versus what we are seeing in the screen that you have pulled up, Josiah.
Yeah.
Because I really like the skate, and I talk about it a lot. But to have this contrast is very impressive to be able to see where it was and where it is now. Because right now it looks like a very high-end skate, to be honest.
Right.
So this is actually, I think, the second sample. It's not the first one. The first one, I think I took apart. So,
Whoa.
I don't know if you can see.
Hey, okay.
So you can see that the final one is kind of in there somewhere. But there's tweaks that we worked through to make it happen. Because we sent them a 2D file of the lines and the shape that we want things to be laid out in. And they would create a sample, you know, based on those drawings. And they would choose materials. They chose some materials that I wouldn't have necessarily chosen. So you can kind of see there's like a patterning on that.
Yeah.
That they think is all right. But we were kind of just like, that's not what we were going for. You know, and like thickness of this was something for me that was a no-go. It was just too big. And they originally had a toe protector. So there's a lot of variables that they had made other skates before and things they had done that I wanted to change. So one of them was like, they always would put this on the bottom, like that foam that you normally have.
Yeah.
But I wanted them to take it completely off and put it on the sole plates. Which seems like a minor thing, but like because the plan for our skates was always to be able to mount big wheel frames straight to the bottom of the boot, it just doesn't look right if you have like like a millimeter of foam on the bottom. It just looks bad.
Yeah.
So
good looking out.
That was one of the things that was like they would fight me on, because they would be like, "No, this is how we do it. I'm like, I understand how you do it. Stop it. Do it the way that do it the way I asked you to." So going back and forth with a factory like that is always kind of a challenge. And it's probably the biggest hurdle that we go through nowadays too, is just communicating what our vision is for the skate and making sure they execute it that way at a price that works for both myself and shops and for them, so they can still make some money on it. So
I looking at it, it makes me think like I could definitely see how somebody else and that is not you would have just gone with that, you know.
I mean, that's the biggest struggle in owning a company now, is like defining your vision and then having integrity to stick with what your vision is, because you think that there's value in it. It's the whole thing that I think everybody struggles with, is like confirming that you yourself have value and your opinion matters, and that you're willing to commit 110% to that vision. Whether we sell 1 million pieces or not, the skate's going to be what I want it to be, and hopefully people like it. We've been very lucky that the industry as a whole hasn't had much issue with us being here like they've had with other companies. And I'm thankful for that every day, but I still to this day am waiting for like the other boot to drop, you know, like someone has some nonsense to say that I have to like defend my decisions on. But I haven't necessarily had to do that. Don't get me wrong, we've had hiccups and hurdles that we've had to come over in the skate, but it's like people seem to be excited that there's other options out there. So
100%, 100%. Like, I mean, before we dive into it a little bit more, why Faction?
The name?
Yeah.
So my idea is the bigger vision for the company as a whole was to build an ecosystem of products that were interchangeable, to build a skate that was for you and the way that you want to skate. So that everybody who wants a specific skate is part of a smaller faction of people, a smaller grouping, a smaller piece, but still part of the big picture. So based on how you set up your skate, it was the idea of like, you're joining that faction, you're joining that smaller group, that niche inside of a niche, based on how you set up your skate. So for me, that's where Faction connects to blades that I'm putting out, the products that we do, the team that we have. It all translates into those smaller groups based on your perspective and how you skate. So
wow.
Yeah. So I've thought about it. I've thought about it.
Can tell
pretty thoroughly. Yeah.
I'm happy about that. Yeah, no, I remember we were at Rampant Camp. I don't think it was the first time that you and I had met, Clark. Maybe it was. But you had like the second day or third day of Rampant Camp dropped the white skate. I mean, mine is orange now. But that, oh man, I immediately was like, I'm buying those skates.
That day, to be fair, was a nightmare.
That's what I heard.
So, she'll probably kill me, but I had sent a pair to China, and I had told her, don't highlight the skates as much, just so we can like slowly release them and like, do a release, you know.
Marketing
and then
things.
She sent me the post she was gonna post, and it was like 360 camera, her doing a line. It was like the skate was here. It was all skate. I'm like, go ahead, post it. And then I proceeded for the next like 9-10 hours. You probably saw me walk around with my phone like, oh god, I gotta do this. It was ridiculous. Yeah, for some reason everyone liked that skate, and that
beautiful.
That one.
It's gorgeous.
It was crazy. People were just talking about it and like, I'm stoked on it.
For me, I really do think it was just everybody. A big part was Faction already had a lot of hype around it. You know, everybody's favorite internet wonder boy had many great things to say about it. Mr. I Roller Boot, so that too. And then actually got to try a pair. So that was my experience. But as soon as I saw this picture, I saw specifically this like cobalt metal washer. I was like, that sold it for me. It was like, that's the aesthetic. That's futuristic blade I'm looking for. They're comfy as hell. And then the new sole plate too, because I as much as I love this really wide one, this one looks so good.
So nice.
I think a lot of people agreed.
It's one of those things that I really everybody, whenever we announce anything, people will get online and tell me their opinions of like what they think I'm doing and what the bigger plan I have is when I haven't vocalized any of it. Of like, they're like, oh, I'm sure this is what's happening. And like with the new sole plate it was always that I get the thing of like, oh, good thing they listened, and like that's where they're going in the future. You know, I'm like, no, we have both sole plates. We're gonna have both sole plates. We always plan to have both sole plates.
Mm-hmm.
Like my whole thing was this ecosystem of products, so you can swap out what you want the skate to be. I personally love a squared off heel and that flat side of the skate.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, I still skate the original ones.
There you go.
That's what I like. This is where I like it. This is what it is. I will skate other stuff in the future when we put stuff out, because I have to as a company owner. I have to test stuff. But I'll probably get back to this this plate right here. That's what I like. So that's one of the perks of being a company owner, is that you can start with what you like. So
there you go.
Good
I remember that just being like just a blowout. Like, so I was like, wow, I see it. Everybody, like, all of a sudden I'm seeing it in my Instagram feed. Like, everybody is just hyped and skating factions, and it's like, wow, this is great. I was like, maybe I should have one.
It's so crazy because like I think it was because I didn't expect. Whenever we put out a product, you never know if people are gonna like it or not. I know that I've seen it for months because I've been planning it and building it. So by the time things launch, I'm usually over it. Like I don't really want to see anything about it anymore. But you never know if people are gonna like it. You kind of like build it and you think it looks awesome, but sometimes people are just like, nah, that's not where it is, or they should have done this or should have done that. So you never know. But I was legitimately surprised by how much people liked that skate. I mean, 25 minutes when that pre-sale happened, they were gone. So,
wow.
Ugh, that's so cool.
Out of all of our launches, that has been the quickest that things have disappeared.
People were waiting for it. It felt like.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
I set multiple alarms, and then I had a last minute meeting at work. And I remember I had your website pulled up, and when I refreshed it after the meeting, I was like, crap, I'm 15 minutes late. It's like, but there's got to be some on the site, all gone. And the emotional roller coaster I went through in that hour, because I was like, I didn't get them. I can't believe this. And then I think it was Jordan Skates in the chat here. He actually messaged me. It's like, did you check Oak City? And they had 2 pairs left of the 9.5. And I bought them, and when I went back to look, the other one had just sold too. I was like, oh my god. And then it was right back up. So yeah, I was just on a roller coaster all that morning.
It's crazy too, because like we're a small company. Like we're not Powerside, we're not Rollerblade. So we're doing, I think for that skate we did a 100-piece order. So for all the sizes, there was 100 skates available. It was a limited edition skate that we were putting out. So inevitably that means there's like not many of each of the sizes to go around. So I like doing it that way because I, first of all, don't want to be sitting on a lot of product. I mean, my wife would murder me if the skates had to stay in the kitchen longer than they actually have to.
This is real.
We're still doing like low run amounts, 100, 200 skates per order, and we sell through them, and we try to just rinse and repeat over and over again. So It's an exciting
I think
time.
it's just it's a very qualitative approach, if I may say, Clark, because even though it's small batches, but it's just like everything. Because I've seen you through the process, you know, and we talked a little bit earlier about like how you create these spaces and opportunities sometimes for people to try your product way
Mhm.
before it's even released, and all the feedback that you
Yes.
go through, you know. But then when it's released, it is a small batch. It's like it's like going to a boutique and finding this thing that somebody was about to release, and it's finally out, but you know they work on it so hard and it's like
Yeah.
ready.
We try very hard to make a good balance between the super high-end boutique feeling while also mass producing them in a way that makes them available for people. Um, our goal is to make a skate at every price point so that there's options for everyone, that we can be as inclusive as possible. Um, just for us, the carbon fiber skate was the best place to start based on the barriers to entry when you're starting a company like this.
Mm-hmm.
So carbon fiber skates, because of the way they're made, the lasts that they're built on are cheaper to do than a injection molded mold.
Oh wow.
So like you can get a last made for between like $50 and $75 per size, and an injection molded mold is like 11 grand for each mold.
Wow.
So it's way easier to iterate and make options on a carbon boot, but they're handmade in the factory. So they're handmade, they're hand assembled, because that's the only way you can do carbon fiber, is that they have to lay the carbon fiber. Like that's why they're more expensive, but the upfront development cost is way lower. So that's why we started there. Inevitably, we'll get to the production injection molded boots. It's just we gotta grow a little bit at a time, and this year has been the year of molds.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're doing with the plastics?
Yeah, currently this year is what we've been doing all the research and development for the plastic molds and some other bits and pieces for products coming out. So we're getting there.
I don't want to leak anything that you don't want me to leak, but I'm very excited about these plastic ones, to be very honest. Like I was not expecting to be Clark, to be honest. I was like, this is the chance for me to give him some crap. You didn't allow me that chance.
Yeah. I mean, it's a hard process, man. Going through the process of like testing and trying out skates, specifically because my preference is a soft boot skate. I have skated. I was talking about this the other day with someone. I don't think I've skated a hard boot since Razor's Colts when they came out. Like,
wow.
Yeah,
that's
like
a long time ago, man.
We're talking like 20 some years ago. Yeah, like the Colts or like Shimas when they came out, like it was so long ago. So I don't know nowadays when I try our plastic boot, like I test it. I prefer a soft boot, so it's really hard sometimes to get rid of your bias and know whether it's an issue with the boot or if it's an issue with you just don't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very subjective. Yeah,
and that's why I've tried very hard to get as many people on them as possible, people that I trust their opinions on them, to like specifically people that really like plastic boots.
Same.
That have tried a bunch of boots. I've tried a bunch. I just don't like any of them on the market from a plastic boot standpoint. So I try skates and I look at them and see what I like them. Technically, I know what makes a good grind in a skate and all that kind of stuff just from experience, but I just don't lean towards a plastic boot. They end up being too stiff for me, and that's not my preference. But that being said, there are a lot of people that love a plastic boot.
I love a plastic boot.
Yeah,
I can't deny it.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So we always want to make sure that we have an option kind of for everyone. The inclusivity of the brand is really important to me
Mm-hmm.
in kind of every aspect of it. And that price point, that lower end price point, 200, 210, 215-ish is what we're aiming for. So, something where people can get into our brand a little easier than the carbon boots.
That's great, man. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not gonna hype it much, but to be honest, like I'm very excited because it's not like anything I've skated lately. It made me realize things I didn't like about other boots before. Things that plastic. You just if you like plastic boots, you kind of like go with the fact that there's gonna be spaces that you're gonna feel some gaps in between
Yes.
your foot and your,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some like things that you wanna expect when you're grinding, when you're leaning into a front torque, when you're leaning into.
Yep.
If you're like me, like you like to really sit and do the top side yourself and feel the top side. There's things that you're gonna feel, this tensions that you're gonna feel that I was like, oh, I'm not having that feeling, but I'm actually comfortable in it.
I think a lot of the things that from a cost perspective, a lot of people try to do dual sizes, where it's a 910 boot or a 1112 boot, because it costs money to do those molds. So they end up having 4 molds for shells. We're starting off, our plastic boot is going to come out with 7 molds. So we're going to have, it's going to be the same shell sizing as the carbons. So it's whole size shells, half size liners. So you can get a 9.5, 10 shell, and it just has a smaller liner for the 9.5, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're able to get a little bit closer of a fit per sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, people's feet are weird. We'll say that up front. Feet are weird. So they might not work for everyone, but they will be very similar to the way the carbons fit, if not slightly longer, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like I'm able to, I have a feeling I'm going to be able to size down to a 44 when I ride them. And right now I ride a 45 in the carbons. But that's because I have a narrower foot and the smaller size is slightly longer. So that being said, it should be awesome. I can't wait. Mm-hmm. It's a big investment, but fingers crossed that people love them.
I'm sure they will. I mean, if anything, my experience, I know it's very subjective. I'm not trying to be any bias, even though I'm really am. I think people are gonna love it too. Like I don't know if you want to talk about the other portion that was inside the skate that I tried. That was really good too. But
which one? There was stuff inside.
There was some something to line up the skate. The liners, man. The liners.
The liners? Oh yeah, there'll be new liners. We're working on new liners too. The idea is, in general, whenever we're developing things, the stock liners that we currently have are very cushy, cloud-like. They're very voluminous. They're squishy. So in the ecosystem of products, we're going to have that thinner, more performance liner as just another option for you to set up things the way you want to set them up. So I'm excited about how they look and how they feel. They have a different feeling than our stock liners, and that should allow people to size down a little bit more, but I wouldn't guarantee that. But they are a thinner, more performance liner than our stock liner. So again, just giving people options.
Yeah.
In the interest of keeping our relationship healthy, I'm gonna confess that I almost stole them.
That would have been unfortunate too, because I know where you live. I got people.
Get on the phone with Shredpool.
Yeah.
He's got swords.
You're away.
All of a sudden, I wake up and like I see this red mask looking at me. Where are these skates?
And Cam's in the background, like.
Yep. Yep. Meta, what happened?
Yeah, no, I gotta say, I'm particularly excited for this So Play on a plastic boot, just because coming back from my ankle injury, I just realized I needed something with more support. That's why I have the twister cuff on here, and I like using these for distance, but for grinds, my ankles just weren't ready yet. And I just miss this sole plate so much, man. It slides so good. It locks on everything. It's definitely the cheat code sole plate, and I think people can take that one way or the other. They can think it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's nothing but a good thing, because I'm not looking out here to try to one up some of the best skaters. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. I just want to be able to do some of those tricks, and if something like that's gonna help me do it, I'm all for it.
It's one of those things that usually the people that are adamantly against it haven't skated it. So usually they haven't skated it because, like, whether you like it aesthetically or not, when you skate it, it makes sense when you're like, okay, I know why people would like this. It's not, far-fetched.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but it kind of is what it is. People like different things.
Yeah. Josiah, you have me all hyped up now because like you keep posting different teammates. Like you posted you were showing Jesus, which is one of my favorite people in the world. You had then Fry, which is my teammate in the Mex tour, and like somebody that I'm like very close with. Like, and then I realized there's Eric Michael and now Skills, and I like, hold on. Can we just talk about the team members? What are you looking for when you're picking these people, like this vast range?
So, for me, the company as a whole, my thought process is that the skates and the company are the platform, and the people on the team, their perspectives are what we're showcasing. So other brands, it's kind of the opposite of that. It's the brand is the monolithic style part of it, and then everyone on the team fits into that style, or they're not part of the team. I wanted to kind of flip that on its end and say, we can work for anyone. Let's showcase what they're doing and what their personality is, because those individuals are the people that you like to watch because they have a unique perspective on the same sport that you do. But they think about it wildly differently than you do. And that is interesting to me. That makes it interesting to watch, from people like Sis that does ridiculous things to Eric that is just crazy sometimes and doing all the big stuff, and Cam that is doing technical execution on everything both ways. Like, they just all have very unique perspectives. And it's great to see what they do on the same platform.
Yes.
The idea of a platform that can then be interpreted a lot of different ways.
Talking to them, it comes a lot the fact that they're being supported, and that phrase, like, it really, coming from a outreach community organizing perspective, is a very triggering phrase, right? Like, supported, like, what do you mean? What kind of support system do you have? Like, what I find so much nurturing every time I talk to them about how they're being supported, and what you're talking about right now, it really makes sense on how they're expressing their investment into the team. Like, when you think about supported and you're supporting the team, how does that like come through? Like, how do you feel like the team is supporting all these kind of ways? Because I want to kind of display it, because a lot of people don't know about it.
So I think that, my job as a company owner, as it relates to the team, is they are the ones that are choosing what they do from a year-to-year basis, what projects they work on, what things they do, what tricks they do, what skate trips they want to go on individually. They decide all of that. So I just want to make sure that I'm there to be able to help facilitate and make whatever they want to do possible. So whether that means that I'm paying for travel, or we're working together to find a filmer, or I'm helping them, giving them a place to crash here to skate the ramp all the time, or like just facilitating things in general. Anything that they need from a support standpoint, whether that means offering therapy as the from the company, or supporting them in other needs that they may have. I want to try to do what I can to help them be able to spend as much time as they can skating and showing their perspective on rollerblading and showing how faction can be involved in that.
Yeah, so basically you give them a gym if they wanted to, because that's the compound, right? It's like a playground to test anything that they have. You give them like the focus on what they want to do and their choices. Yeah. That's crazy.
The whole team, you've been to my house. You know how it is. It's kind of like, I want to build a community around my house, whether it's faction or just the compound or just welcoming people here as a place to get the rest that they need, or the camaraderie that they need, or whatever they may need. They'll always have a place here outside of the team. Like, we've built relationships. I'm friends with all of them. They are all welcome here indefinitely. Even if they are no longer on the team, they are part of my life forever. And that can be a positive or a negative for them, but they're stuck with me. So.
Yeah, forever you'll have Clark comments on your post saying how that's not good enough. You do it, clean it up.
Yeah. So the whole team is welcome here. I've been lucky enough to have the entire pro team here a lot, and I want to continue to have that with the extended team. A lot of our traveling, a bunch of international people, it's harder to get them here, so that's the only reason they haven't been here, but we hope to change that in the future. But again, I really just want to make sure that I'm a resource for them to kind of execute what their vision of rollerblading is and show that to the world. Whether that means getting them skates to skate, or making connections for them in the industry to be able to film and edit what they want, or make content, it's really up to them. I think that can be a positive and a negative sometimes. I think sometimes people get overwhelmed about the freedom that they have to do what they want, and they don't know quite what direction to go to. But inevitably, it's their call on what they do. So they're all adults. They can figure that out. But I can help them wherever they want to be helped,
Awesome.
I find that very empowering, man. Like, very empowering, to be honest. Like, I think that a lot of people talk about industry and companies and experiences in many kinds of settings, and I think that just this model, this approach that you have it's kind of radical, to be honest, and also it's very nurturing just to know that it's happening, not because you're my friend, not because I know you and I know a lot of the writers, but because I see the product, dude. Like, and I think I talked to you about this before. Like, I've seen, Jimmy. I know Jimmy when I was fat and bald, and he was like doing the weirder tricks on the corner in Florida, And now to see him being fully evolved into mastering his stuff and being so polished and so consistent and blooming, doing what he wants to do. Like, that really is a service to the community in many kind of ways,
Yeah, I think that everybody on the team has such a unique perspective on rollerblading, and I think that's what kind of drew me to them as a whole. They all just have, they all are really talented in what they do in their own special ways, and be able to see them kind of do the things they want to do and have fun doing it as well, and just kind of growing in what they were already doing, and being able to be a part of that is just, it's a special thing, and I'm so glad that I can be a part of it.
Yeah, man, it really comes through, and it's kind of very organic. I'm wearing the Operational Hire shirt, which is our approach to offering a space of mental health oriented or mental health awareness where you can disconnect and do something with your bodies and not really be doing anything but skating next to the water and chilling. And that's like my approach is like what I think for mental health. But you offer therapy. What
Yeah.
do you think that's beneficial to have it in a team?
Well, I also think that it's something that people won't always support themselves in that way specifically, and won't always do it for themselves. So I feel like if there's a way that I could make it available for them to use if they want, it's no pressure for me. It's no, they can use it or not use it. It's up to them. So if there's value in it, there's no reason why it's not something I could offer. I think for the team as a whole, I want to get to the point where we're offering, salaries and larger royalties and all of these more traditional things. But I also want to make sure that we're taking care of them from just a mental health stability as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, rollerblading is a tough sport and a small industry to be in. So if that helps them kind of perform at the level they want to perform, who am I to not help, So it is what it is. You want them to be able to skate and not have any hurdles that are keeping them from doing that. And it's something that works for our group. So
That's great. That's great. And I think it overall helps the long picture,
Yeah.
Because
I mean,
mental health is not short.
it's funny because we always talk about these things from a perspective of like the team as this thing, like it's this marketing, line in the budget this year. We're all people, and we come to these things with different perspectives and different life experiences, even though we have a shared experience as in rollerblading, but we all come to it from different places. And we're not all young anymore either. So there's a lot of things that you come to figure out as you get older that you want to work through, you want to talk through, you want to understand yourself better. So all of these things give people opportunities to explore that, and
Yeah, that's great.
helps what you can.
That's really great. And personally, I want to say like it's a great showcase of something that is not as popular to bring out when you're talking about a skate company. I think it's something that I admire. I heard you guys are gathering again soon. I think you're having Jimmy soon there. Are you guys planning something right now?
Well, we have to finish this video. So we're working on a team video, and they gotta do some work to get some stuff done. So we gotta film a compound section. So people are coming in. Actually, Eric flies in tonight. Jimmy flies in tomorrow. Brandon gets here Thursday. I think Shredpool gets here Thursday. So we're gonna be filming this weekend the compound section of the video, and then we go to New York for 3 days, I think. So 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
I'm gonna be there.
Yeah, we're hoping to film street stuff on the 21st. Then, if it doesn't rain, do that big wheel skate on Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Try to get some B-roll stuff for Cam section.
Yeah. Wednesday night skate?
Yep. And then Thursday, if it's dry, skate some more street.
Beautiful.
Then after that, we're going to Woodward. I get to be a camper.
Hey.
Yeah. I am so excited. So we're doing the spring, there's like a spring camp thing there, the 24th, 5th, and 6th. So we'll be there filming, probably doing a bunch for Eric's section. Jimmy will be there. Cam will be there.
Sick.
Then after that, we're going to Tim's.
Yeah.
We're going out to Tim's, and because we have to drop Eric off because that's where he lives. So why not go and skate? So we're gonna go skate there for a little while, and then we
There
come
you
back
go.
here. I think we're gonna be
Wow.
there for like 4 days or something like that, and then we come back here, and then I'm here for like a day, and then we go to Atlanta for Captains of Concrete.
Oh my God.
Where's that
Yeah.
at
What a
again?
crazy
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Yep.
Captains of Concrete. Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to the people putting that together. I know Rob Thompson's gonna be there too, so
Awesome.
that's gonna be a great time.
Yeah, it's they're building a really strong community down there, so it's always good to get out there and see people and hang out. And it really is. All of this is all about the community and the people and the connections you can make. So I'm happy to be there and happy to support it every opportunity I can. So
It sounds awesome, but I think many of us, maybe the ones that are watching or listening to this, and Josiah and I, but besides you, this is a good amount of traveling, my man. Like,
it's
that's
so
like pretty
much.
hectic.
It's so much. I don't know if I'm gonna make it, man. It's, to be fair, I love my team to death, but it's like herding cats sometimes. So, it's gonna be tough, but
Here you go.
we'll try to make it happen.
Believe in you.
So busy, dude. You're like so busy. Like, okay, so the first V1s were with Wish frames, right? Wish frames.
V1s? So our
Yeah.
V1s came boot only. The first one that were partnershiped with anyone was Shredpool's Pro Model, which since he
There you
rides
go.
for Wish, we partnered with them to do a complete skate. So we did custom red wishes to match his boot.
Beautiful product too.
Yeah, I was really excited with that. Red's always a challenge for people. Usually, either you 100% love it or you stay away from it like the plague. So it's one of the two.
Yeah.
So, and we knew that going into it, but I felt like it was a great experience. I would love that we were able to put that out.
Are you collaborating with anybody else right now? Like, how many collabs do you have going on? Or
Right
partnerships?
now, I mean, my goal as a whole is for the pro boots that we put out to be partnerships with the riders' sponsors. So in the future, Cam's boot, we are working with Endless Blading to do a complete urban skate, which I'm super excited about. We
Can't wait.
should be able to do pre-sales in the next, I want to say, month and a half is what I'm hoping for. What? So we're in the final stages of like the final tweaks that we got to do. We just put in the order for the frames. So I have all the wheels here for it ready to go. It's really just, dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So that's probably the next partnership that we'll be doing. And again, with the other riders, I hope for Eric's pro model, we're going to partner with Wish again for his full complete pro model. We hope to partner with Create Originals for Jimmy's and China's,
Yes.
as well as Chroma, Sick Urethane. So, I'm a boot company, so I don't want to be making all these ancillary things. I want to support the other companies and their relationships with their riders, so the riders get royalties off of both pieces of it, and it's a industry building kind of experience.
That really gives me a whole shape of every time that you mention the ecosystem to not only be based into just only faction, but how the ecosystem shapes around the riders and their supporters. And
Absolutely.
That's really cool.
I think
really
that,
cool.
It's the biggest thing is we build these relationships across the industry. And I think if we have the industry rise together, everybody benefits from it. More people get into rollerblading. More people are here to support us across the board, as well as to buy the products and be part of the community and enjoy the everything that comes from that.
Yeah. Was the compound always part of that puzzle?
Yes, I love my ramp. So it's one of those things that we bought this house I want to say 8 years. I think we've been here 8 years. But the plan always was, when I bought this house, that we were buying a house that had enough room for a ramp in the back. That being said, I don't think my wife understood all the words that I would say to her about the ramp and how large it was. so
Fantastic.
So she's the real superstar in this, because she doesn't say anything about it when I keep building stuff, but it has always been the plan to continue to build stuff. Heidi is the best. She's a keeper. I can never let her go. She's wonderful. But yeah,
from all the community, Heidi, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The ramp is always kind of part of the equation. It works out well for the company because it gives us the ability to test stuff pretty rapidly and skate whenever we really need to. That being said, it's also, like I said before, a place where the team can come and be, and always have a place to be if they need it. So it kind of fits into the big picture of everything really well.
Talking about Tree, look, how has it been having Tree there?
Oh, it's amazing. It's great. Tree's
the best.
Best dude. So he has such a unique perspective on things, and is always having fun out there. So it's always nice to have him here when I'm in the kitchen looking outside and I get to see someone skating. Like it's always nice.
That's so nice. His feedback, I bet, is also very valuable, right? Because he approaches things very differently, huh?
Absolutely. He's one of those dudes too that has just a unique perspective on things, and he can physically skate anything, but knowing what his preferences are and what things he likes and what he doesn't like, and hearing those things kind of firsthand, it's always great.
Did you sneak a peek of the plastic boots, Josiah? Did you just do that?
In this? No, they weren't.
No, this is old.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
No, those were V1s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Those were size 8.5 V1s or size 8 V1s.
No, they're in one of these videos we had to I was finagling the camera whenever someone was skating them, because I forget who it was, but someone was skating the prototypes for the first time.
Eric.
It was Eric, okay. And I every time he was on camera, I made sure to get the trick and then quick move the camera so you couldn't see the skates very long.
Well, it's funny, because we've been working on this skate for a while. I would say almost a year of development, just working with, because basically you have to mold each size and get samples of those, 3D print samples, then get real samples, and
right.
It's a process. So Eric, because his pro model will be on a plastic skate, it'll be a plastic boot, he's kind of one of the first people that I wanted to make sure we got him on the skates to test him, because that is his preference. Again, with the pro boots, I want people to be riding what they prefer to skate. So the plastic boots fit how Eric likes to skate. He likes a little bit more support. He likes less of a soft boot. He likes the shell. So it just fits him better. So we've been working to develop that. And he's been on them for a couple months, and everything's been going well on them. So
it sounds like a long process, but it also sounds like you're having some kind of rewarding experience of watching this happening and the adaptation of the things with your riders.
Yeah, I would say it's a great process. It's scary as hell because it costs a lot of money, but it's both good and stressful, and it's all the things. It's all the things at all the times. But inevitably, I'm hoping to put out a really good product that people appreciate and enjoy, and it adds to what we're offering from Faction as a whole. So,
as a owner of a skating company, what's the most memorable experience that you can think of right now? Like,
I mean, there's so many good experiences, but I would say all of my best experiences are community based, group based dynamics with like the team on tour, out in the middle of nowhere, like on court, like Colorado road trip, or like our South
mm,
America tour. Just those interactions and personal relationships that you have with people that you're with all the time. There's so many stories on tour that are just hilarious, and just it's all just dynamics and fun. So I think all of those, all of our winter class trips, all of like that kind of stuff is just individual moments that I wouldn't trade for anything.
I gotta say, man, like when 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 I encounter people doing things with as a team somewhere in some place, you know, and traveling and trying to make things happen, I never get as much joy as I get to just go and see you guys. Where you, for example, when I was in winter class and you guys were at the ball, just the whole team chilling and
Yeah.
skating the ball, and I never like right now I'm making consciousness of it, like, oh yeah, the whole team was there, and I was kind of like jumping into their session, but it's not, it wasn't, it never felt like that to me. It was more like the these people are skating. Oh, the whole team is here skating. How cool it is! Let's skate together. It was never like uninviting. So I'm just saying that just to give you props because it really comes through. It
Thank you. I
really does
appreciate
come
it.
through.
It's really important for me to for things to be welcoming of other people into our group. We in our industry there has been a tradition that sometimes teams are beyond reproach, like
Mm,
they're kind of too fancy or too like a big deal. Not that they do it purposely, it just ends up happening.
mm-hmm,
And for me, it was really important to select people that both are willing and able to kind of just be there for the session and welcome anyone in. And you know, there is no way for us to welcome kids into the sport if we're not willing to skate with them and session with them and have genuine connections with people. Um, I think that's super important. I think that with the company as a whole, I'm everything that I'm trying to do are things that I might not have had when I was coming up that I
mm,
wish I would have had. You know, like we always had our idols and our superstars in the sport, but they were just kids in themselves. So they didn't necessarily know the value that would be placed on their opinions and them being present in sessions and welcoming people into the sessions. It was more about them and their skating at the moment. And
mm,
I think we're all both we all do that to some extent, but being conscious about it and trying to be as welcoming as possible to both the younger and people that are just excited to be there. I've had many conversations with people, our team, just about, you know, the idea that they have value in being at these contests, even if they're not skating. If they're
mm,
just there, walking around, the fact that a kid will come up to Shred Pool and be so excited that he met him, and you know, that's actually one of my favorite things at Ramping Camp. Shred was skating the day before, unmasked, just skating.
mm-hmm.
Then the next day, he was skating all day masked, and Eric Howman lost his mind. He was like a kid in a candy shop. So he was like, "Oh my God, Shred Pool's back."
Yeah.
And he is a full-grown man.
Yep.
But it was amazing to see the happiness that happened. You know, like it was amazing. So experiences like that are why we do it. 100%.
There you go.
Speaking
There you go.
of Shredpool, after I met him too, and then was at Ramping Camp and just posted a selfie of me wearing my mask and him in his mask, I think I had, not kidding you, 8 people in 24 hours message me saying, "This is who Shredpool is, and this is how I know." And they were, I'm not kidding you, I think if there were 8 different people, that like there was maybe 4 or 5 different people they suggested.
Yep.
I was just like, nobody has any idea what's going on here, and it's so amazing.
What's hilarious? What's hilarious about it? At Rampant Camp, one of Tim's buddies that works the gate when they come in was convinced that I was Shredpool. 100% convinced.
That's what I tell people.
Look me dead in the eyes, like, I know you're Shredpool, and I'm like, we've been in edits at the same time on screen, so I don't know what you think.
Oh,
Good editing.
Yeah. But it's hilarious that like there's just this air of fun that we try to maintain across all of this, because it is just rollerblading. It is just wheels on your feet. So like, let's have fun. Let's have friends. Let's have good times, good memories across the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, agreed. What do you think the state of the industry is right now? What versus the future? Like, because I see what you're approaching, and I don't know if you think that your approach is part of a wave or it's an individual approach, but how do you see the industry right now, and how you see the future of it?
I think during COVID, the industry kind of picked up because there was this anticipation of like wanting to get back out there, wanting to go skate, wanting to be more. So we definitely saw an uptick of sales during that time period that I think have slowed down at the moment. That being said, I think that I hope for the industry to grow and continue to grow and be this bigger thing. I don't think we're going to get back to like 2002 levels anytime soon, but I think that we can build that stable base of community around us and like try to work together to kind of build this thing to be bigger than it currently is all we can really do. I really hope that everything gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but it's just kind of one day at a time of like, all right, how can we make this work? How can we keep it in front of people? How can we get more people involved? How can we make it fun? That kind of stuff. That's where I'm focused.
Yeah, for my community foundation to have a more solid foundation, because I think maybe Spook wasn't part of this, but you and I went through the process of when the industry debacle and everything fell through, and how we realized that the people that are still here are the actual community.
Yep. I think it's a hard thing to discuss too, because a lot of us older rollerbladers look back at like 2002 to 2006 as like the heyday of like rollerblading was crazy and like awesome, and like I don't know because rollerblading's not there right now. Like even just the technical execution isn't the same as it was in 2002 or 3. It just isn't, and it's not even something you can kind of argue about. Like it just isn't there. We have changed, things are different, there are different technical execution that is appreciated now that wasn't appreciated back then. I don't think it's ever going to be back to that. I don't think it necessarily needs to, but I hope that the diversity in rollerblade continues, and like we have people that are doing the technical stuff, and we have people doing the hammers, and we have people doing big wheel stuff. I think it's a bigger picture thing where we need to be welcoming of all disciplines of rollerblading and accepting of everybody in the picture, and build those communities so it's a little more stable than it was back then.
Yeah, more sustainable too,
and I think that inevitably it has to be welcome of all genres. Like we have to welcome the hammers, we have to welcome the technical execution, we have to be relevant for everyone. And I think that each person doesn't necessarily have to do all of it, but we have to welcome those people in it and give them a place to be.
Preach. All right. I've been trying to do this thing, Clark. Never works out, but just bear with me if you can.
Yep.
I call it Fast Five. It's
Okay.
5 questions. The last one you can stick with it, and we can go back to the conversation. But the first 4, if you can just shoot the question, the answer without thinking about it,
Yep.
I'll appreciate it. All right. Flat or anti?
Flat. That's the
Nice.
right answer.
Yeah. Favorite skate of all time?
That's you can't. There's no answer.
That can be the answer.
There's no answer.
I love it.
Those Phantoms that got me into it.
There you go.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Yeah, because
There
you
you
get to
go.
cut the
There you
brake
go.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. And grind the middle of it.
Yeah. And then it falls apart in about 2 months.
Or so, yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite trick of all time?
That I've done?
Up to you. From somebody that you saw or that you've done or whatever it is.
Frontside fast slides probably are my favorite trick. Hands down. And probably the person would be Farmer in words.
The
On
slow
that-
one?
That one on that rail in between the bushes, and then there's down the thing. It's like 50 feet of just slow,
Oh yeah,
fast
Yeah.
slide. Front side, just.
I've seen that.
Isn't
Yeah.
it technically a slow slide?
That's the craziness about that trick is that you think, I'll just go fast, but it's a 50-foot rail, so just you do it slow and you just do the whole thing impeccably. Like there is no, yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. That could have been a commercial for Mr. Clean, to be honest. Like,
So good. It was, and I think he was wearing sweatpants too. So
yes,
I
he was.
appreciate the leisure wear. You know, the I was just napping and then I got up to go skate. That is my favorite time of rollerblading. So
Yeah. I also think he was wearing a crazy skate. Was it RB or Salomon? I don't remember, but it was like one of like off, very stiff frame.
I think it was RB. I think
Right?
that was when he was riding for rollerblade because it wasn't
Yeah.
Solomon. Solomon he was on for right before VG19.
Mm. So it must have been the TRSs, one
Yeah.
version of them.
Yeah.
All right, sorry. You see, I do it myself. Like,
Yeah.
favorite section ever.
VG19 Farmer.
Boom.
He
That was
changed
an
it.
easy one.
I like
Ah.
any section that is groundbreaking and changes. Like there's a time before that section and then after that section, and they're
Mm.
different. They're different times.
I agree with that. I think my life is it can be compelled between before that fast lane and after that fast lane.
Yeah.
BFS and AFS. I like
I
it.
remember I shut down the video. I ran out of my door upset.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because like that was the year. It was 2001. It was 2001, and the first time I met Chris was at ASA finals. We had both qualified for finals in Texas, and he was there filming that section because that one fast slide in that section at I think it's like Texas Courthouse or something. It's like that steep black rail. He was filming that, like that's why he was in Texas, and he was just at finals because he had qualified, so he thought he would skate. But we ended up sitting on a ledge most of the contest, not really caring about the contest at all. And then I ended up seeing that section afterwards, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why he was there. That makes sense.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
funny.
Shout out to Farm. Who like perfect segue. Who has influenced your skating the most?
That's always a struggle because I don't really have an answer for that.
Okay.
I'm old enough that I started before 90% of rollerbladers.
Mhm.
So it's really a challenge for me to idolize and look up to people that are younger than me.
Yeah.
It's like a dichotomy that it might have something to do with like working at Woodward where I taught campers and stuff. Like I struggle with putting people on a pedestal that are younger than me. And that might just be me personally. So I like when anyone says like, who do you look up to? I still look up to the like Arlos and like the Edwardses and like the people that sometimes don't skate anymore just because it was a very long time ago, but they were my elders when I was coming up.
Right.
So even like people like Roadhouse and stuff like that, like we were coming through at the same time, and yeah, he killed it. Everybody killed it and were really good, but it was like I saw them more as like contemporaries and equals and like friends that I knew because I met them at contests or what have you. So it's a different thing. Now, if you were to say, who do I look up to from a technical execution type of perspective, I would say like the Chris Farmers, the Aragons, you know, nowadays like a Cadeau kind of perspective, like people that are taking their perspective of rollerblading and taking it to the highest level they can possibly do, regardless of what people's thoughts about them are.
Kudo is definitely doing that.
Yes. Just like dialing into their perspective and like doing it. So.
Yeah. I can see how that can be influencing and motivating and like pushing you besides just the skating, but just to push yourself, right? Like.
Yep. I mean, I grew up in a time where I would see people doing things, want to emulate it or do it better, and like I said earlier, I have been known to be judgmental, so it was more of a, man, that wasn't done right, I can do it better than that kind of perspective, especially when I was younger. I've mellowed out a little bit in my old age, but yeah, I always wanted to do it better and try harder and do more difficult things and keep pushing myself. So
yeah, I've changed my perspective a little bit on to how to push myself. I think accidents have influenced me a lot on that, but I definitely feel that my drive force is usually to push myself to either go harder or better or just elevate whatever I'm doing to the next level, because I find that's fun. Honestly.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing this you've been doing it longer than me. I think you said 91, so you have 5 years more than me on this, but you have a lot of crazy stories, right? Like from all the blading, right? Like, can you, if you were to pick one from all this time, were you able to pick one?
There's so many stories. The funny thing is that, you know, some people that have rollerbladed for a long time have rollerbladed that entire time with one crew or one set of friends, you know, that they've always skated with throughout the time. I've had countless groups of people through different eras that I skated with, like full-on crews. 10 people that I used to skate with that all stopped skating. Then I just kept skating. Then I found another 10 people that I skated with. Then there was more. Like, there's so many of those. There's so many people that I've skated with, all that were really close friends and really kind of down for it, but just kind of ran their course of rollerblading. Not everyone is 33 plus years in rollerblading. Like, sometimes they're just here for a short time and then move on.
Yeah.
But like I said before, there's so many just personal interactions that you have with people that are just so memorable and so pivotal to who I am now that I had those experiences. So it would be nearly impossible to pick one. There's definitely like stories at like the compound or like falls at the compound that were just amazing. Just one that stands out is Brad Barnwell falling in the hole after a sweat stance on that rail. Like, I told him to watch out for the hole because we skate everything before it's done. He did it, rolled down, fell in the hole. The board flipped over and flipped onto his head, and he fell like 5 feet to his back in a hole, disappeared, gone.
Oh my God.
100% the funniest fall that has ever happened at the compound. I'll never forget that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So
I'm freaking out just thinking about it.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of stuff like that has happened. It's ridiculous and amazing, and great.
Yeah, I had a bad fall, like trying to skate quads on the corner.
Yep.
I hit the corner and then I shoot out. I was like, "Where am I going?" And I just shoot to the side of the ramp.
Yep.
And
so many people come here with a list of things they want to do and this plan of like, oh, I'm gonna go kill it, and then they get here and end up yard sailing in the middle of the ramp somewhere, hats flying off, glasses everywhere, like just falling all over the place, and they're like, okay, I gotta dial it back a little bit. So people they always have big plans until they fall really hard, and then they take it easy, and then they just hang out for a little while.
Yeah. I want to say, if you go into the compound, anybody listening to this, if you haven't been to the compound, this is a real mini ramp. It really slides. This is a real street rail. It really slides. This is a real kink ledge. It really slides.
Absolutely.
It's really good.
It's the Woodward mentality. So like Woodward, notoriously for campers, when they showed up on Sundays, they weren't allowed to skate, because historically they would be there first day, super excited, break themselves off so they couldn't skate the rest of the week. So we had to legitimately tell them they can't skate the first day because they would hurt themselves. Compound is so different. First day, you need to just take it slow, drop in, ride around, don't go all crazy, because you will. There's people that have come to my ramp, and every time they've come to my ramp have hurt themselves to where they have to do the walk of shame to their car and and not skate anymore. And not because they did anything crazy, just because they get super excited and like fall off the sub box to flat bottom or something crazy, or like run into people and like be on the ground just like unconscious. Like craziness happens. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I love it. I love nothing more than just the whole experience, honestly. And every event that I've been at the compound, or every gathering that I've been at the compound, I actually witnessed that. At least by one person.
I'm like, guys, just slow down, calm down. It'll be here later this afternoon. Take it slow. Everything's fast. Like, no one listens. They figure it out.
Learn the hard way, but they learn.
Yeah, I mean, they keep coming back, so doing something right.
Good lessons. Yeah.
It's addictive. I can't blame them though. Like I've heard, like I said, like that. I missed 2 people off the ramp. I took my skates off. I did the walk of shame. I was there the next day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there to watch. I'll just pull up my chair and I'll just sit. I enjoy it. Yeah.
I know you do, Clark.
See you next time. Like, yeah, it's a good time.
Is there anyone that you think the community should be looking at more?
I think the youth is key. I think that there's a lot of young guns that are coming up that are like starting to get more coverage, that deserve more coverage, and you should look for like Danilo. I think that's how you say his name. Is somebody to watch out.
Yeah.
Killing it. Anna, I forget her full name. Anna Julia,
yeah, the Brazilian girl.
killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Killing it.
Ugh, so good.
I think that they need more coverage. I think that they need more exposure. I also think they need to also just be in the mix more.
Mm-hmm.
To see as they grow older and develop their perspective in rollerblading to be showcased more is going to be phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the Asian skaters from like Korea and Japan deserve way more coverage than they get. I think that the style that they bring to the equation is next level, while also having that that cultured background in rollerblading to know what's right and wrong in rollerblading and be able to execute it at that high level is awesome. That's something you see kind of only in Asia. You see it in that way.
Yeah.
We have stylish skaters in the States, but it's different.
Very different.
You know, there's people, you know, of course I would say that people on our team deserve more coverage, but I do think that we're giving them a lot of coverage, so I don't tend to mention them. But like people like Dylan Hopp too.
Oh, yes.
So good. Yes. and has his own perspective and kills it.
Mm-hmm.
The people
He's
like
so
that,
good.
I think that because the industry is so small right now, a lot of people are underserved. And I think that the platform is there for people to get the coverage, but it's a lot of work when you have a 9 to 5 and all these other things going on in your life that it's hard to always spend the time that you would need to get that coverage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I think rollerblading is doing a good job of like showcasing a lot of those people. So I hope to see more of that.
I agree with you. I think I start seeing more of them a little bit more. I do agree that they do need to be more showcased in to the overall of the community, right? It's very impressive to see a lot of the things. Like, I like the fact that you highlight that the Asian community have this like pedigree almost of like, you know, this is like style, execution, difficulty.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that stands out to me, is that for some reason they've been able to hold people to a very high standard of execution while not hurting people's feelings or like it coming across as like derogatory to maintain those standards.
Right.
Like I think sometimes in the States that we've kind of flowed to the other side of welcoming everybody, keeping everybody in the group and accepting anything, while sometimes lowering that standard of execution to say, well, they're just having fun. But they found a way to be like, no, this is how you do it. This is the right way to do it. I'm glad you're part of this and having fun at the lower skill levels. But still, this is the aspirational side of this is what it can look like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think sometimes in the States, we kind of err to the side of like, just welcome everybody, welcome everything. Everything's fine. It's whatever. And it's a hard balance because again, like egos are there and like, it's a weird dynamic.
And we're also in this trend in the East or the United States of like, right, really trying to very intentional about being very inclusive. And driving the inclusivity to a point that it doesn't necessarily maintains the boundaries of the higher level skillfulness, you know, and this thing of like, let's celebrate everybody gets a medal, and I understand that, but I agree, like, but when you see the setting where somebody can be pushed and held accountable for doing things like that, then you see Danilo, then you see things like that, you know?
Absolutely. Like, even like the stuff Kevin in South Korea is doing with all those young kids learning, like, it can be a welcoming sport and everybody's welcome while still progressing and like holding people accountable to execution, and like that is phenomenal. I hope to see more of that. I feel like that's what we tried to do when I was coaching at Woodward. Like, yes, there's people that are good and you're at all different levels. That doesn't mean I hate you if I'm telling you this is how you could do it better. Like, it's not I'm not making fun of, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying this is how we execute it at a higher level. This is the correct way or the easier way to do things. Like, we have to do both, and we have to be inclusive, but we also have to maintain that standard. We have to hold people accountable to what they're doing and how they're doing it, and give them a better outlook and push in the direction that we want the community as a whole to go. Because if we don't spend time on those things, to hold those things, those standards, everything will be dumbed down and won't be a true representation of what the sport is.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
You know, for us old guys, coming through like the heyday of like 2002, 2003, that time, like we were fighting to do the gnarliest thing, the biggest thing, the hardest trick, and wouldn't film stuff on a P-rail for a video, like wouldn't film it on, you know, a smaller obstacle when we could do it on a handicap rail. That's what it was. Yes, the industry was different and that's not as sustainable, but I think we need all of that still, as well as the more technical, smaller stuff, the finesse things. I think it just needs to be, that larger picture needs to be implemented and maintained and hold the standard there. Like there's valuable things in all aspects of rollerblading.
And there's different ways to approach it, right? Like you said, it can be like going direct like that, or it can be, I'm just gonna give you the platform and you see what comes out of it. Like I appreciate what Magic Boots is doing. You know, I didn't get it at the beginning. Now I really get it. I think it's great. What the South Korean team, like the whole school, like honestly, I am a geek for what they do. I love what they do. I learn about a little bit of their approaches, and we take it to the next tour.
Absolutely.
You know, it's
things like blading camp. Blading camp's another one. Like giving opportunities for people to learn, as well as learn what the sport is as a whole. I just think there's value for all of it. I think sometimes, you know, there's that tried and true argument online of like, where are the hammers at? Because like they don't exist as much as they used to. And there's reasons for that. That doesn't mean that they can't exist or there aren't people that are doing it. It just means that rollerblading is bigger. I am also a very hard supporter of the fact that you can't say that current rollerblading is the same level of difficulty as it was, if that makes sense. You can't say that they're equivalent. They are different, and that's okay.
I don't see anybody doing mega disaster full cap backside sabbies onto a huge ledge on a daily basis.
It's wildly different. So to say that it's the same level, like to say that professional execution nowadays is the exact same level of execution when the halfies and the Aragons and it's just not. Like, and that's okay. Rollerblading has turned into different things. There's different executions of things, but it's not the same, and it doesn't need to be. I'm more of the guy that I'd rather people be honest about it and assess it in an honest way, and then let's grow the sport.
Do you think, in order for the best way, the most vague way to put it, I guess, wise way, for the hammers to come back, do you think the industry needs to be bigger? Because I feel like people, there was more, it was worth it to put risk into it, whereas nowadays we can admit as well it's not.
No, I think that's a misconception.
You think so?
I think that's I think the simplification of what the industry was back then, it wasn't worth it. People weren't getting paid exorbitant amounts of money back in the day. Like,
did you? I guess a better question: did you guys think it was worth it? Did you? Was there argument? Was there? So it really was just, we're just doing this to be crazy.
I think that it depends on the person.
Okay. And
the time of someone's life. So people like Alex Broskow, growing up, had something to prove in his group, pushing it. The group of killers that he grew up with, the amount of rollerbladers that were just killing it in Kansas City was ridiculous. So for him to stand out in that group had to be that next level of execution. The same thing with like the Alabama crew of like Dunkel and Rob Thompson and like all of those people. the amount of stuff they had to do to stand out in their crew just kept getting escalated and escalated. And they're looking at other pro rollerbladers, and they're not seeing the attempts that they tried things or how long it took them to do it. They're in Alabama just saying, okay, let's do our own thing and try to do what we see on videos. And they translated it to doing drop rails and doing 450 fish brains, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think
That's so cool.
world is such a small place with the internet and everything. You see more of it. So you know what went into a lot of the stuff that you didn't have that transparency in the past. So not to say that people phone it in, but they don't mistakenly push it to those levels just because they're in their small community and don't know any better. And then back in the day, you'd run into people like the Farmers or the Aragons or the Halfies, and they're absolutely destroyed it. I think that if they were all in their primes right now, I think they'd be doing the same things. I don't think that they would do it any differently. Like you see Demetrius George, when he skates, he does the same stuff that he did back in the day. It's a personality thing, and that's how they approached rollerblading. I don't think a lot of people in rollerblading nowadays have that same approach. A lot of them, and they may justify it from a perspective to say it's not worth it. There was no money. There wasn't a lot of money getting paid. Yes, there was more than there is now, but it wasn't like people were having careers off of rollerblading. There was a handful of people that were making good enough money, like the Feinbergs from outside sponsors, like the top dudes were making enough money to barely survive. But that doesn't explain the rest of all of rollerblading. Like the Jeff Downes is doing double kinks when he's 12. Like it doesn't explain that. Or even like the John Bellino's like going off in New Jersey doing ridiculous things, or like the Judd Larsons doing stuff. Like it just was a personality thing. I think that it helped that there was more rollerbladers, so the more of those personalities were involved, and I'd love to see people doing that again, but it's a different place now.
Yeah, I like
definitely.
that. That's a good explanation. I appreciate that.
I try to make stuff up as I go.
Like besides obviously this amazing product, like besides getting that product, how else can we support what you do? How the community can support what you guys do?
Rollerblading as a whole has supported me for a very long time. I don't need support. I am good. I think the more that people can do to support rollerblading as a whole and take opportunities to participate in the community is key. Whether that is with my company or at the compound or with what you're doing, participate, join it, go to Ramping Camp, go to Blading Cup, go to the events, see the rollerbladers and start a conversation. Go to the Crowders, go to Captains of Concrete, go to all of it. If you have an opportunity to go to anything with rollerblading, to see like-minded people and to be part of that community, make it happen. I think that's the key to all of this. Of course, I want Faction to do well, and I want you guys to come see me. I'd love to say hi. But inevitably, I'm not in need of support, but the communities and the industry as a whole needs to see everybody's face at these things. So
fantastic.
That was like, if you had a mic, you should have dropped it right there. As we're like wrapping things up, anything that you want us to make sure we get from you? Any message? Anything you want to leave peeps with? Like,
I don't know. I'm old. I get tired. We're working very hard to finish up this team video. Brandon has a lot of work to do, and we're gonna make it happen. We're planning to have the premiere August 24th. It's a Saturday. There's a session at the compound all day, and then we have a movie premiere in Westminster at a movie theater, like full on. So make time to come down. If you're local enough, drive out. We can camp in the yard if you want. Like, come on out. It should be good.
August 24th.
Yes.
That's a date. I'm excited. No
Yeah.
pressure, Brandon.
Yeah, he's so bummed right now because it's coming quick. Coming quick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's gonna be great.
Oh my god.
Cool. Well, quick, let me run through some chat questions that we had accumulated, and then we can call. I'll let the trailer play here.
Absolutely.
From Dreaded Roller, what's it gonna take to get a 13-14 faction? He says he needs a 320 millimeter.
All it takes is money. I will say our 12.5, the way our sizing works is it's whole size shells, half size liners. So technically 12.5 is the 13 shell.
Okay.
So if you had a larger, thinner liner, it might work if you need a 13. If you're needing a 14, I don't know what to tell you because we don't have any plans for one right now. The problem is that there's such a small group of people that need that, like under 10 worldwide in our industry.
Okay.
So it's hard to justify the amount of money it takes to do that. But it might be in the future. We might do it. We're trying to get too much stuff done already elsewhere, so fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right. From Jordan Skates. We just talked about this. Favorite skates prior to faction. So yeah, the what were they called again? The Phantoms.
Phantoms.
We'll go with those.
I mean, I've always been a fan of like K2s, like K2 Nemesis with the squared off heel.
Yep, that's where you got the soul plate inspiration, right?
I rode for K2 for a long time. So riding, I used to ride Style Point Bobs, and then I worked all the way through like all the fatties, Style Point Bobs, King 55s, all of that, up until the Nemesises and all of those. Mm-hmm. So like during my prime, I was riding, I think, a pair of Pat Lennons, the like purple blue ones. Yeah, like those that came out. I hated those. Nice. But that skate wise is what I would ride. There was Pat Lennon ones. The Pat Lennon ones were fucking money. They were like dark purple.
I gotta admit, man, I've never been a big fan of Kid 2, but they had the varsity one, and I was like, there's no prettier skate than that. Like,
I loved this skate because I blacked out the purple, so it was even darker. So it was like a black with a gray sole.
Nice.
But they were just so comfortable. Comfort was a big thing for me. I actually rode size 10 instead of 12s because they were soft boots, so they gave a little bit more. Because when you have a larger foot, you never get samples when they're doing new skates because they always do samples in like 9s and 10s. So you could get a 10 fairly early in the development process easily. 12s you could never get. So I just always would be like, yeah, I'll take them, whatever. Size. But I loved the skate itself. So yeah, it was phenomenal.
That's a odd looking skate, to be honest, but it was a great skate.
It looked like absolute trash, but it skated so well. Yeah, it was never a thing for me of how it looked. I didn't care, but I could do so many tricks in it. It was, I think the first time I skated it in Cloud 9. Do you remember when they had that wide shotgun box in the middle that went flat and down? Right next to Murphy, the wall ride thing. I put on those skates first try, and I did Hurricane top horns like first try, and I was like, okay, yeah, now I'm gonna skate this skate forever because
whoa,
yeah,
all right.
And I do like 540 backfarfs on them, like it was cake. I was like, yeah, this is my new skate. I'm gonna ride this one. Yeah, phenomenal.
That's awesome.
I think what a crazy trick, though.
Which one?
The Hurricane top horn. Honestly, like
love it because you can like spin.
I'm gonna pick your brain on that one soon.
Just It was so much fun.
I can't even imagine.
So fun.
We got some great questions from Tree, like always. Would faction exist in the Hot Dog Hands universe?
It is gonna blow my mind because I have so many questions about the hot dog hands. It really depends on whether it's hot dog hands and feet. Because if it's hot dog feet, there is no way skate functionality would work because the hot dog would wrap under and hit the wheels. It would be like Jenko jeans back in the day where it would like get under the wheels and you'd hit your back of your head. Like that's what the hot dog things would do, but going forwards. So I don't think it would exist. I don't think it would exist if it was hot dog fingers and toes. But if it was just hands and your feet were normal, yes, it would exist.
Okay.
I'd love to ask the next one, Spook.
Great answer. Yeah, go for it.
Faction or Applebee's? If you had to only have one, which one would it be?
Applebee's. I don't think you understand how many times on tour we have gone to an Applebee's that no one wanted to go to except for me, so I could house mozzarella sticks at the bar in 2 minutes flat. Just look down, the
Beautiful.
plate's empty. That's Applebee's, man.
All right.
The lifestyle.
I love it. Man, that's a great question.
That probably came from a person that has experienced the Applebee's.
That was Tree.
I didn't get to talk to Clark because he wasn't speaking. he was eating. That's great. That makes me happy for you. I love that for you. Amy asks, seems like I remember you liking negative tricks. If I have that correct, what is your favorite trick to do or the hardest? Yeah, so your favorite negative.
Favorite negative would be, I think I'm a fan of like 0 negative citric acids. I can't do them now. I'm a little too fat, but they're really hard, but I like them because they like flow together nicely when you do them and it just works. But here's the thing. I like negative tricks just because they're difficult to execute. So from a technical execution standpoint, it like ratchets up the skill level to be able to do negatives. Like I like it. And I think they're hard. So I always would do them because they were hard. Not necessarily because I like negatives in general, but it was like they were just difficult.
Yeah.
So I was like the challenge.
Respect that.
You said 0 spin citric negative?
Yeah, so basically that clip that I did was 0 negative acid.
Right. You just go the other way with the leg.
But the front foot is wrapped behind the leg.
Right.
Jimmy does one on that curved ledge, and I think the trailer, he does it to fish. He does 0 citric acid to fish.
That's right. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. It's nice because it feels like a half cab front unity, but tweaked.
Interesting.
I mean, to be honest, my mind right now is like trying to understand things and having a hard time with it.
I also like true negative mistrials.
Oh,
so like
those
like
are
a true
pretty.
like a true front farf, but negative mistrial.
Oh man. Yeah, that I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. That sounds crazy
That's
hard.
a pretty trick.
You
Yeah.
can do
Pretty
anything you put your mind to. It just takes
Thanks.
10,000 times.
Yep,
You'll be
that's
fine.
true. That's true. I don't know if I want to do it 10,000 times, but I do appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's really not worth it, but it's fun once you've done it.
We'll see. One
one.
day.
Shout out to Josh Letona, making all of them.
I don't know, man. I've heard some rumors that he had tumor plates on the inside.
Oh.
I'm just saying. I don't know. But
I've heard that too.
that's a little different.
Shout out Withdraw.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He killed it, and I loved his exploration of negatives. It was awesome, groundbreaking. But
Yes.
it's a little different with tumor plates.
Well, definitely.
That's great.
Back to you, Spook.
Thank you, sir. Hood Panda asks, favorite cringe tour moment from Faction Trips. I'm sure you think of Matt immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he asked.
Well, probably when we were in Vegas, and I had to rush back to the hotel room to take a dump, and they lost their keys, and they had the front desk call me. They called me. I'm on the toilet and answering the phone, and they're like, "So yeah, we have a guy down here named Gary who needs a key done." And I'm like, "Who the fuck is Gary?" And you hear Matt in the background. No. He knows me as Matt. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, let him in." They couldn't send me their room, and then they call me with some name I don't know. Apparently his name's Gary. I don't.
Like, I just, that is such a Matt thing to do, but my immediate thing is, why does it benefit you at all to call yourself Gary, Matt? Like, why did you do that? I'm sure that, like, that's how that happened. Yeah, my name's Gary.
His name is Gary, but it's in my phone now. His phone number says Gary.
Really?
He's
I didn't know that. It's my government name, he says.
He's probably he's losing his mind out right now. He's like, "You can't be telling my business online." That's what you get.
I mean,
Those
dude,
questions.
you put all your business out there online.
Oh my god, that's so great. I'm calling him that from now on. It's his father's name, he says. I love that. Hood Gary. Good stuff. End the stream. He said end the stream.
I wouldn't be surprised if he somehow figures out a way to hack the stream.
He's gonna get in here somehow. All right. Sean Michelson asks, roughly how many miles are on the van?
Oh, so many. I think we just crossed 100,000.
Okay.
Recently, but I got it at like 40,000. So
when did you pick it up?
2 years ago.
Dang.
So it's the Colorado road trip that does it.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Driving from my place to Colorado and back is substantial. So
you should do the Vermont trip.
We went last year. So
oh yeah, you did.
That looks like
we'll
fun.
see what happens. It's always a challenge. We have a lot of trips this year.
Yeah.
Frankly, I like to spend money too much, so I got to be careful. I will bankrupt us if I go everywhere I want to go. So.
Yep, get that. All right, and then last question comes from Judas Link. Will the plastic boot go up in the cuff area like a traditional skate, or are they going to be cut like the carbon boot?
So they'll have the traditional fingers.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Those guys that like they kind of go up behind the cuff and front of the cuff.
Here, see if I can show it off well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you mean.
Yeah. So here's what I will say. Our carbon boot is a very specific thing. I like a lot of flex. I like a lot of forward flex. That is my cup of tea. So on a plastic boot, we want to make sure it has a unique experience on it. So there's a reason to buy that skate versus the carbon boot.
Yep.
So I don't want to just replicate the carbon boot in a plastic form. Like it will be a reason. Like if you like more support and more structure, the plastic boot is going to be for you. If you like a little bit more flex and where soft boots break in and become floppier over time, then the carbon boot is what you'll want. So again, it's the whole ecosystem thing of like giving people options to build the skate that they want to skate.
Awesome. Love that.
So,
all right. Well, good stuff. Man, I really appreciate you coming on. You always have great things to say. I've experienced many great conversations between you and others, and then you and I have had good conversations ourselves, but every time I hear you talk, about
Thank you.
anything rollerblading. I feel like I walk away with a wider grasp of knowledge, so I really appreciate that. But
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course, yeah. No, it means a lot to me. I'm super excited to come back out to the compound in August. You said August 24th, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna try to be there too.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna be there. I've already let everybody know in my life that I'm gonna be there on that date. So
awesome.
It's gonna be super fun.
Be a good time. Should be a good time.
Sean said, "Don't skip my last question." What was your last question, Sean? I didn't see it.
His size of skate, but he mentioned it already.
You said you were like looking at a 44 downsizing, so you're what, like a 45?
So I'm an 11 and a half. So I am 11 and a half. I think it's like 295-ish, somewhere in that range. So I traditionally have worn a size 12 skate comfortably. K2s, I wore a size 10 just because that's what's available, but like I'm 11 and a half size skate. I think the plastic boot it's a little longer than the carbon boot because of the way you have to measure it. So I think I'm going to be able to size down, but I wear a size 11 and a half. Like this is an 11 and a half carbon.
Okay.
So it's ridiculously large. I know. I'm 6'4", so I mean, you gotta have a big foot. I mean, you can't.
It doesn't look large on you. It doesn't look that big on you.
Sixes. I'd be falling over forwards. I wouldn't be able to do it. So.
Sean actually mentioned, I didn't see this one, it didn't come up in my chat. You hinted or joked about a wheel company a little while ago. Is that a joke or is that serious?
I mean, I don't think there's a joke in anything. I think eventually I'll start all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
I think in general, when you start a company, especially a boot company, you end up having to do distribution on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start a distribution company, you need to have basically all the product lines to make it an easier one-stop shop for shops to get the things they need, where they can buy multiple quantities of things, then bring the prices down for them so they make larger margins. So if we were to start anything else, it would be in support of that, to give a solution from our distribution company as a whole. That being said, the market is currently pretty saturated with wheel companies.
Overly, yeah.
So I don't think there's any rush to do that.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm building relationships with factories to be able to make wheels that I have to make for complete skates anyways. Like we worked with and Industries for Cam's wheel to get that wheel done. So building those relationships makes it a possibility in the future to make quality product that people want. I think the branding for any said company that would have to come forward would have to be pretty strong to be able to stand out in the market, and that just takes time. So there isn't any time frame that anything would happen or that there's anything that I want to share or chat about, but I wouldn't put it out of the picture. I would love to start both a wheel company and a hard goods company at some point, but who knows if I'll get to that. I also like, whenever we go on these tours, Shredpool would tell you the same thing, is that that's the time that I think whenever I'm driving like 20 hours by myself, I basically will build a company in my head during that trip and want to execute it as soon as I get back. So I've built out company plans for any number of things. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Man, thank you so much for giving us always a very organic tap into the industry perspective. You know, there's a lot of things that are not directly related into the making of skates, the production, the team management, all these things that you're able to not only have a plan for, but to verbalize in a way that we can, as people that are not as invested in that area, really understand it. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for always being able to openly speak about these things, and for everything that you're doing to showcase your approach into the community. I'm really thankful, and I think like the community overall is very thankful for you.
Well, I mean, it's the least I can do. I always liked, when I was younger, I had always wished that companies were more transparent about how they operate and how people get sponsored, what that looks like, what does it mean to be sponsored, what are the requirements, how do you get there, like what does that look like? And I tried to, with Faction, to be very transparent about the inner workings with the team and the production process and all of these things, even down to offering 3D printed versions of my soul plates. Like in the past, people would never do that because they're afraid someone's gonna steal their design and make their own and be a competitor. It's like the barriers to entry in this field are so high that people aren't going to spend $3,000 to get their own molds made to just replicate my soul plate. Like it's not a real thing to be worried about. And if they do, more power to them. Good luck, because it's a lot of work and it's not something everybody wants to do. So I'd rather be open and transparent about it and be more communicative about it to give people insights into that. If they really wanted to do something like this, if they wanted to start a company, go for it. You can figure it out. It just takes time and money. That's all it is. So a lot of this stuff, when you're having teams and managing this stuff, it's really comes down to just spending the money on it. And I'm passionate enough about rollerblading that even if this were all a loss tomorrow, I'd still be excited that I did it. You know, I'd still be stoked on what I've been able to get back so far. So I think that's the only way to start a company and move forward, is just to be enamored by the sport in a way that even if it's a failure, you're excited to be part of it. So
well, I'm glad it's working out, and I hope that, you know, it keeps working out. And thankfully enough, it's been such a great success, I think, so far. And I cannot wait for the pre-sale of cameras, skates.
Yeah.
Yes, many people are excited about that colorway, and to see Cameron kind of check that box of something that's way overdue for Cameron. He's been such a valuable part of our industry for so long that, you know, just to see him be able to check that box of a pro boot is something that I'm really excited about, and really excited for him to experience it. And yeah, it's gonna be good.
Yeah,
couldn't agree more.
Just as a new
it's
friend,
also groundbreaking. So
yeah, and just as a new friend to Cam's, you know, thank you for giving him that opportunity too. I appreciate you recognize. That's why I mean, you can appreciate Faction for many things, not just the skate, the team, and then all the things that you guys do to be present. But you are all just such fantastic people, and I really do appreciate you assembling such truly the Avengers of rollerblading team. I've said it before, but it's because everybody, like you said before, they're all so different, but every single one of them is incredibly deserving of this opportunity. They work hard and they're super nice people. It's amazing. And meeting you guys at Rampant Camp for the first time, that being like my second or third event for rollerblading ever, really did change the path of my life. So yeah, huge shout out to Faction. Love everything you guys are doing. Super excited for the future for y'all. And again, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great talking to you. Good stuff.
Wouldn't have missed it.
Well,
thank you, guys.
you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all. Well, you could support Faction in the description. Go to their website, buy some skates, go and spread the good word of blading in general. Clark says go to events. We all say go to events. So if you haven't gone to one, make it possible. At least sometime once this year, you need to go to something. There's going to be something near you. Be there. If you can make it, please do. We appreciate you. And Blading would appreciate that as well. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I'll catch you on the flippity. Later, Bladers. Have a good night, everybody.